Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is Ursie, and today I am having fun doing a mini galactic astrology reading, this time for light being Sofia. Now, I hope, Sofia, you don't mind, but I'm going to say your birth year was 2004. That just makes me so excited. Again, when young people would like to know a little bit more about who they are and where they've come from. So to start this little chit chat off, I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And I've shared this before, but in case you're new and joining me now, this is a picture of what's called the box of stars. Let me see if you can read that better. A practical guide to the night sky and the myths and legends. This box of stars is available on Amazon. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it has wonderful cards in it. And as it's starting to try, and here we go, my little camera, here we go. I just want to show you that as a teacher, see these little holes on the back of the card? Ostensibly, you're able to poke each hole out because they represent specific stars in the night sky. This one happens to be of the constellation called Auriga, A-U-R-I-G-A, Auriga. And so we have the story of what looks to be like the charioteer. He's holding his little bridle, but on his lap are two baby little goats and a she-goat here. And the she-goat holds the brightest star of this constellation, Auriga, and that name of this star is Capella. You'll understand why I'm focusing on this soon. But I want to tell you, with each of the constellations, there's typically a story or a myth. So when you see this guy, the charioteer, one story says, well, he was lame, and so then he invented the chariot, which was able to be used in battle. You know, another civilization would look up at the night sky and say, no, Auriga is more of a shepherd, and he is in charge of his flock, including the goats. So whichever way you go, there is a particular essence. The story carries a vibration through its narrative that sometimes gets translated into the stars. And if you happen to have one of these fixed stars very strong in your natal chart, well, for me, it's like pay attention to that story. Before I change my cameras and go back to a talking head, I want to share this card from the same box of stars because I just recently did a reading for Star Child K. And Star Child K, whom I believe Light Being Sofia knows pretty well, we focused a lot on the constellation of the rabbit called Lepus. Here he goes. Here's Canis Major, the big dog, and next to Canis Major is the rabbit, Lepus. Between the dog, the rabbit, the charioteer, and a she-goat, what does it all mean? Well, again, when we look up into the heavens, these particular characters were up there so you could understand, oh, navigationally, where am I? In the winter sky or the summer sky, where are we? So before TV and before GPS, before radio, to navigate, we'd have to use the stars. Kind of interesting. Today, we can sometimes barely see the stars at night because there's so much light from our, the lights outside from our front door or from the street lights. Okay, well, I digressed. Let me move right now into this discussion for Light Being Sofia. First of all, I want to give a shout out to this idea of numerology. When I was writing out your birth information, the number 12 came up, 12, 12, and then the hour of your birth includes a 12 as well. So when I see the repetition of number 12 3 times in a natal chart, it just makes me go, So I'm going to just leave that for you, light being, to understand, if you choose to, navigate a little bit more about the magic number 12. It's a very specific and powerful number if you decide to get more galactic or metaphysical. Okay. So here we are. Remember, the Starseeds Astrology free online calculator is now called galacticastrochart.com. And on the screen, we are seeing light beings. Here's your basic constellations and places where you have incarnated. So let's just take a peek, because this is the reduced version. Where have you been, and where is your star family? Now, if you want to go compare with your mom and your sister, perhaps where they've been, you might find some interesting crossovers, okay? Because one narrative is that we incarnate. Here, let me stop sharing for just a moment. One theory is that as souls, we incarnate basically with the same people. Sometimes in life, I'll choose to be the husband and you can be the wife or the child. And then in the next lifetime, we all incarnate as the same group, but we're going to play different roles. And not only that, but there's a particular color and frequency to soul groups. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I loved reading a lot of hypnosis regressions of people who've died and come back and brought information from the other realms. So I'm adding that layer as well. First, I talk about the magic number 12 with you. And then here's this idea that, soul families, we reincarnate with each other. Sometimes we don't like each other. Sometimes we do like each other, but it's always for this idea of expansion, expanding our consciousness and awareness. So the tougher the lesson sometimes is the greater the expansion for a soul. Okay, well, you probably don't want to hear all that stuff. Let me go back to the screen and let's take a peek. So here we are again. You have been to the constellation of the bunny rabbit that I just showed you. You've been to Orion. He's the hunter. Auriga. Auriga is the charioteer or the shepherd that I just showed you with the goats. But now look here. Andromeda is showing up. Orion again, Centaurus. Andromeda again, Canis Minor, Pisces, Lyra, and the big and little dog. So if you ever wanted to do a soul collage, you could just Google these constellations and put a beautiful little collage together and saying, this is my star family. This is where I've been. One day, if I ever get to it, I'll probably create a little system for how to do your own star family collage. But in the meantime, here I am trying to get certified as a practitioner. Okay, so the next step is I click these two boxes and I hit generate the extended report. Okay, it's saying the page isn't working, so let me refresh. Looks like I'm gonna have to stop sharing for a moment and I'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back. Here we go. Wow, little light being Sofia. Look at this. Your chart looks like a rainbow. You can see all the different colors representing the various constellations. Now, just so everyone is clear, not all of the constellations are on this calculator, but we work with the ones that are currently on as the major ones. So to start, we look at your Pluto line. Here's Pluto because it is the planet that is the furthest away from Earth. Okay, well, that's a theory. But in our solar system, at that time, Pluto was a planet. Now it's a dwarf planet. But okay, your Pluto is at 22 degrees of Sagittarius in the ninth house. And here's an opposition. Here's an opposition. So we're going to look between these two to see which one is in closer orb to determine where you originated first as a soul. Okay, and if you look here, you've got 0.06. Oh my God, 6/10 of a minute. That's like very, very tight orb. So the opposition to Pluto is strong. And this is why it's from the constellation Auriga. Remember the shepherd. And it's opposing the fixed star named Capella. That was that little she-goat that was sitting on his lap. So that's your story of origin. But look at everywhere you've been. Okay, now we're going to look at where were you most recently? So that lifetime energy of the most recent lifetime before coming in as light being Sofia, we look to your sun line, which is the brightest light, right? The sun in Sagittarius, 21 degrees in the ninth house. All right, there's an opposition to the bunny rabbit. There's an opposition to Orion, and there's an opposition to Auriga. So I look for the closest orb. This is 1 degree, 27 minutes. This is 1 degree, 17 minutes. And this is 44 seconds. But oh my, look at this. Bellatrix takes the cake. 10 seconds, 0.10. I mean, all of these are pretty tight, but Orion, your most recent lifetime. But we got to look at Auriga too and just say, look how close it was. It's almost like you returned back to your origin. And when we look at your chart, let's see if there's any other Auriga. I'm really not seeing any. I see it here. So before you came to this earth, you went back to visit your old hometown on the fixed star of Capella. So if you Google the word Capella starseed traits, this is where you're going to learn about your origin. Next, we're going to look at Bellatrix. This is where your most recent life was from. But before we go there, look at all this Andromedan energy. Wow. I think Andromeda, let's count Andromeda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going. 6, 7. 7 Andromeda soul connections. And forgive me if I've missed any. But you also have very strong Palladian energy. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 Palladian. So if you want to play the game called Count Your Constellations, I do have a little video on the Ascension Playground called Count Your Constellations. It's so much fun to see not only where you've been, but where the area of focus is. Okay, so let me stop sharing for a moment. So this is how that little galactic game is played. It's narrative. You only pick up that which feels good and you leave off the rest. Okay. So I think my next step for you, because I got so excited, is sharing a little bit more about your origin, because it may be in your subconscious, but if you tap into it sometime in your long life, you may see it come forward. And when it does, you'll go, oh, that's that little nanny goat that's sitting in the constellation of Auriga called Capella. Okay, so let's go look at your astrology chart. This is the Western astrological wheel, and I've plugged in your birth information. And so just taking a peek and seeing what we notice, other than a lot of lines crisscrossing, right? So the first thing that one could see would be, look at the planets are mostly up here above the horizon. So you could almost say this lifetime, you're mostly going to be working, you know, not within yourself, not personal planets, but not even transpersonal so much, but more the broader universal planets. So, excuse me, these are transpersonal. These are more relational planet houses, but look up here. This is where your focus and work will really be on the greater collective. I'm going to start the reading for you on the wheel with looking at your sun. See this circle with a dot? Your sun is in Sagittarius at the 21st degree. But do you see how it's very much at the top of your chart? This MC is called the midheaven. So your sun loves being in the 9th house, Sagittarius. This is the philosopher. Each of your signs is in home for each of the houses. So again, the sun in Sagittarius, just really happy to be there. And it's about the philosopher, the wisdom seeker, wanting to know truth with a capital T for not just yourself, but the greater collective. All right. And your sun is sitting next to the transformative underworld planet of Pluto. Okay, so what you're going to be shining a light on is things that are deep, deep underneath. Could be a metaphor for the subconscious collective. All right, and here's your Mercury ready to help talk about it. So here's your sun. Now I want to show you it's directly opposite, because that's what this red line means, opposite Capella and Bellatrix. Remember how we said from the galactic chart, we wanted to find out, okay, where was your point of origin? And where was your most recent lifetime? Well, here we find Bellatrix is your most recent lifetime right next to Capella. So when you think about that, you know, this is the 3rd house of siblings. And it's the chit-chat area of Gemini with lots of little conversations. But your sun wants to light up the house of this greater truth. Okay. I gotta just pause for just a minute and say, see this word gala? It's a short word for galactic center. All right, and over here you can see galactic center when you were born was at 26 degrees of Sagittarius, 54 minutes. All right, so it's fascinating to me that you have your galactic center is placed in the 9th house at the top of your chart, whereas Star Child K had her galactic center at the very bottom. So between the two of you, you've got the galactic center at the root, the family root, and then all the way to at the top, the close to the midheaven, how you show yourself out in the world. This, though, is the house of sharing wisdom. It's the judge. It's the law. All right, what else do I want to share with you? We look at your ascendant. Here's how you show yourself out in the world. Now, your ascendant is very interesting. Look at that. It's 0 degrees, 53 minutes of Aries. So what this says, because it's a beginning to, people may not see you as Aries as much as they might see you as Pisces. Pisces is more dreamy, intuitive, likes to hold back. But you were born with the ascendant in Aries, which is more the warrior. I'm here, I'm ready, let's go, let's make it happen. We're going now, and so that's the ascendant, 0 degrees, and your descendant is right across the wheel. So each of your 4 signs are at 0 degrees. Very interesting chart. So we looked at your ascendant, how you show yourself. So you may be a little Piscean, but then you come out as, hey, I can champion the dreams. I can champion for tapping into spiritual wisdom. All right, it's like you've gone all the way around the wheel and now you've come back again as a beginner. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is your moon, because we talked about the sun, and here's the galactic center. And now your moon is sitting in the 10th house of Capricorn. So when you close your eyes and you sense into who you are, that's your moon. It's a reflective knowing of your emotions. And it's sitting up in Capricorn that really wants to go step by step up the ladder and have a very clear vocation. Give me the manual and I will, step by step, move my way up in the world. Wow, that's interesting. The moon in Capricorn. Let's see what else I want to share with you. Oh, the galactic center. So I'm going to pause for another moment just to share a little bit about what does the galactic center mean in the 9th house for you. But just so you know, I looked up your sister too, and I looked up what does the galactic center mean in the 4th house. So I just think that's very interesting that you both, from the root all the way to the top of the chart, how you hold the galactic center very differently. Okay, here we are. For light being Sofia. I pulled this information out from the course called Quantum Soul Guidance. It's a practitioner's course with Julia Balaz. If you or anyone in your family are interested, you can check it out using the link below that I have in the description box under Starseeds Teachable. Okay, here's what the galactic center in your 9th house means, okay, because I showed you where it was. See if how it resonates with you or not. But this says that you'll be tuned in to spirit and act as a clear receiver of divine information and impulses. So there's something called, I'm receiving downloads. When you can go into meditation, you, if you choose to, can perhaps receive divine information or downloads, spiritual downloads. Okay, also, secondly, it says your vision is no more borders. You embrace all like citizens of the world. Perhaps later in life, you may see everybody as galactic humans, a united Earth. This may show up for you now. Do you think big and have a sense of global awareness? Do you think universally instead of, it's just about me, my friends, and my backyard? Do you have a broader look towards how you see things happening in the world? And you may be guided to share and teach your higher ideals in a powerful way. See, that's reflecting back that 9th house of Sagittarius. So when you're tuned in and tapped into what's called the quantum field, that's a field that, if you go into the galactic center, which we found right inside your 9th house, that is a field of pure potentiality. Okay, then if you do that, you'll be able to interpret off-world communications. Oh my, I don't know how you're going to hold that, but maybe sometime in your life, if you decided that you would like to think about being a channeler or channeling information. Now, don't be afraid. Let me just stop sharing for a minute. A channeler, I don't know if you were raised with the Bible, but I was, being Catholic, and we learned the stories of the apostles. And so the Holy Spirit, which looked like a little dove bird, would descend upon an apostle, and mostly he would feel inspired and write these words down. So automatic writing. Sometimes pictures would come. I love Hildegard von Bingen. She was a nun, and oh my gosh, she would just allow herself to meditate, and she'd go into this trance a little bit, and she would bring back music that was out of this world. She would bring back paintings that actually resonate and were painted way before Carl Jung, but in Carl Jung's Red Book, oh my God, those pictures in Hildegard von Bingen's, there is coherence. I don't mean to use those big words, but well, anyway, want to go see what your sister's all about? Here we go. So for her, we'll just do a comparison. Her galactic center was in the 4th house. And as I'm reading this, I'm going to be thinking of myself because that's where my galactic center is. It's in my 4th house of home. Okay. So if anyone else out there, you find out where your galactic center is, look for around 27 degrees Sagittarius. This could mean, and it lands in your 4th house of your astrological wheel. That means you are a builder of the foundations of the new earth. And that word paradigms, what that means is we're going to shift away from perhaps this idea of the paradigm of capitalism. It's all for me, and make a lot of money, take care of your own. But the building of a foundation of the new earth is really much more about, hey, is it sustainable? Does everyone get supported? Is it good? Is it earth friendly? Okay, so for your sister, you may ask her too, or you might have her listen to this part. She may find a way to connect the past with the future. Oh boy, that's interesting, right? The past, and that could be deep ancestry, and that's not just on the planet. It could be star history. With the future, where are we going in an innovative way? And then I don't know if you see your sister as someone who is looks at Earth as Mother Earth, and that she deeply respects nature, animals, plants. But if it doesn't show up now, it could show up later, this idea of, the Divine Mother archetype. Lastly, if the galactic center is in anyone else's 4th house, you would honor the old and young equally as valued world citizens. Again, I just pulled this information from Julia Balaz's incredible galactic class on quantum soul guidance practitioners. You know what I like is there's enough information if you're like a newbie or beginner, you don't know anything about astrology, there's enough room for you to kind of find your way if you're willing to do the study. If you're at an intermediate level, you may not know about some of the galactic layering. And if you're advanced, well, there's always room for more things to learn. So sorry to digress, but one last thing I wanted to share with you. I'll go back to the screen site in so we could all enjoy it. Okay, when you do the Google search, I looked for what are the traits and signs that you're a star seed. Okay, and I really like this site. It's by Alora Rain. And here's her name right here, Alora Rain. Signs you might be a star seed. Okay, because some people were asking, well, aren't I a star seed? Anyway, so this goes to talk about the star seeds, and it shows some very interesting things about like if you have Bohemian fixed stars or chart points. So when we looked at your astrology light being Sofia, you had the origin in Capella. All right, so Capella, it shows up strongly in your chart. And so here are the 15 Bohemian stars. Now what that means is there used to be this idea that if you had very specific aspects of any of these 15 stars, that you had greater access, let's say, to magic. Okay, so they would use these stars to meditate with. Let's just look at your star for a minute. Capella. Okay, they give the name. They even call it Alpha Auriga because it's the brightest star in the constellation of Auriga. It's actually not even one fixed star. It could be 2 or more orbiting yellow stars. Okay, so you could go take a peek at what that looks like. And in the night sky, the reason Capella is in one of the 15 Bohemian stars, it's the 6th brightest star in the winter sky for the northern hemisphere. Okay, but look, here's a little bit more. The gemstone for Capella is sapphire, and the plant that's associated with this fixed star is thyme. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you like magic, this is the glyph or the sigil for Capella starseeds. All right. So if anyone else is listening, I'll just read out the Bohemian stars: Algol, Pleiades, Aldebaran, Capella, Sirius, Procyon, Regulus, Alcade, Algorab, Spica, Arcturus, Alphecca, Antares, Vega, and Deneb el-Gedi. Now within those 15, there are four royal stars. Let's see if I can remember the royal stars. Regulus is the star of the king. Aldebaran, Antares. Did I say Aldebaran? Antares. Let's see, what was that fourth star? Oh, Fomalhaut, but it's not listed here. Okay, anyway, this is very interesting information. So because you have a Bohemian fixed star, it's not necessarily conjunct, it's more opposite. You could read about some of this and see if any of this makes sense to you or not. Let me stop sharing. Well, I hope you didn't mind my little tangents and bringing in some pictures of, here's the constellation Auriga with the fixed star Capella, the little nanny goat. There is one little other story about this constellation. The nanny goat, Capella, what I want to really tell you, like being Sofia, is it is the star of plenitude. So it's a really great star to have, because one of the goat's horns fell off and it was filled with plenty. And that's where we get the theory of the horn of plenty. Or in Thanksgiving, you've probably seen this kind of like a basket that looks like a horn and it's filled with food. So I would say that when you originated into this star system, you came to this fixed star of plenitude. Yay! So plenty of what is the question, but in this lifetime, what it looks like you're trying to do is get plenty of truth, real like deeper truths, judicious truths. There's something called the law of one. These are universal truths. And if that ever goes on your radar screen, you can take a peek at that. But you're going to have much more of a broad, universal wisdom that will be supporting you as you navigate this incarnation. Okay, everybody, that went a little long, but I got so excited to learn myself as these little mini readings are appearing. I'm just about done with the minis. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now.